Hi, everybody. I'm John Hammond. I took over for Win Smith during this lovely, easy transition year of 2020. Nice and relaxing transition. It's been great. Thanks, Win. You know, I do enjoy hearing you laugh every time you call. I forget what that sounds like. So it's good to see all these smiling faces out there without masks on. We can actually see some reactions. We had a great day today, out skiing around on the mountain. Conditions were, well, they got much softer as the day went on, and it was good to see people out there enjoying themselves, and excited to hear the stories that are going on tonight. So I'm going to pass it right over to the future Wall of Famer, Win Smith. So Win, go for it.
And, you know, it's especially, you know, heartwarming to see the Purcells calling in from Santiago, Chile, and we'll talk a little bit more about that special relationship. Today was day 4 at Sugarbush. I think this is the longest I have gone without skiing in decades, having not skied from March 14th until opening this past Wednesday it was. But today was day 4 for me, and it's so good to be back on the mountain, to see so many old friends, and to really start coming down the mountain. And Siggy, I think you would be pleased to, in honor of you, John Hammond opened Siggy's ripcord today for the first time. So people were actually able to see Siggy's ripcord, which we named Siggy's ripcord 10 years ago at the 50th anniversary in honor of you, because we knew that was one of your favorite trails here, and it's a very, very special place. So the Wall of Fame came about on our 60th year. We were looking at really celebrating the history of Sugarbush for an entire year, having lots of fun events, but we also recognized that it was time to recognize the special people that have added to the adventure and camaraderie of Sugarbush over these many years. And when we started getting together, we put together a panel to make the selections, which is always very difficult. And they probably should remain anonymous, but I'll tell you who the first panel was, because it's very significant that we had representatives from the Gadd family, Tori, and Kelly Wood from the Murphy family, and John Egan and Shan Weller, who certainly knows a tremendous amount of history and has great stories, and myself. And the idea behind the Wall of Fame was not to have Sugarbush necessarily select the inductees, but to actually open it up to the public, to have nominees, to ask them to fill out a criteria and tell us why a person should be nominated. And that first year, we really had an enormous number of really qualified people from the past, but also from the present. And we weren't saying that somebody from the present couldn't be honored on the Wall of Fame. We really wanted to open it up so the public in our community was telling us who they thought should be recognized. But we also realized in that first year, we had to recognize our founders. It could not go without recognition of the Gadds and the Murphys, Peter Eston, Lixie Fortna, and John Roth, who had done so much to create Sugarbush back in 1958. So we made the decision we would induct the 5 of them, and then we would induct 2 more that came from the community. But there were so many good candidates that we actually had to expand the first year to 4 inductees. And they really represented a cross-section of people, and a really good example of what I think makes Sugarbush very special. So I think many of you know we inducted Darian Boyle, and Darian's family has been at Sugarbush for decades. They are all phenomenal skiers. Darian is, you know, one of the really great extreme skiers. She's now here at Sugarbush full-time, a mother. And so Darian was inducted along with Wayne McHugh, who many people know as the Mailman. And the Mailman has skied in every single Castle Rock extreme since it began. And he is actually a mailman from the Boston area. So the criteria really, you know, was very flexible, but when we looked at the nomination form, it was almost impossible not to add, you know, Wayne McHugh to that first inductee ceremony. We also added, excuse me for a sec, Marit Tardy. And Marit has worked in our daycare or day school for years. I think she's going well into her 4th decade. Many people who are now grown actually were mentored by Marit. They were looked after by her in the day school, and it's actually her 44th consecutive year at Sugarbush. So Marit was the 3rd inductee, and then the 4th was Dave Gould, who many of you know was a really beloved instructor in our ski and ride school. I don't know if he was here when you were here, Siggy, but Dave had an infectious smile, just an infectious smile, and he unfortunately died of cancer just a short while ago. But those were the four inductees, a great cross section, and I think it represents why Sugarbush is such a special community of different personalities, different skills, but all who are committed to the adventure and camaraderie that is so important to us here. So this year, again, we thought we'd hold it to 2 people, but it's impossible. So we really had to induct 3. And again, they are such special people that have added so much to our wonderful history. And so I'm going to go now and introduce people, and then we will ask the inductees to come up. I'm sorry we can't physically present you with the honor and the plaque, which is going to hang on the wall, but I will show you the picture that is going to be on the plaque that will be hanging on the wall in the gatehouse. And the first person this year is Guy Ludwig. Guy may not be as well known as Siggy and Henri by the entire Sugarbush community, but Guy has played a remarkable history, in many ways, a little bit behind the scenes. So Guy started coming up here regularly from New York City. He rented and he eventually bought a home in row house D, I think it was. We'll certainly see that on the screen when he comes up. And Guy has a great career at NBC. And I think one of the most thrilling things I've experienced at Sugarbush, and certainly since owning Sugarbush, was when the Today Show came to Sugarbush in 2008. And we'd received a call, and our PR person at the time was a fellow named J.J. Toland. And he came to me all excited. He said, "We are one of the ski areas that may actually get visited by the Today Show." They said they're looking at having one day as a winter vacation, one day as a warm weather vacation. They're looking for a ski resort one day, and then they're going to go to Florida the next day. And it was in contention. I believe they were River. They may have been Stratton. Guy will tell me about it. And I said, "Oh my God, those people have been around for a long time. They got all these facilities. They've been marketing. We're just coming out of the doldrums. We've just built Claybrook and the Gatehouse. I don't know if we're going to win." Well, we won, and we were thrilled. And the entire crew from the Today Show, Matt Lauer, Meredith Vieira, Al Roker came. And they told me at the time that that was the only time the full crew came on site other than the Olympics. So all of them came here. Now, as we learned a little bit more about it, we were thrilled, but then we became a little bit concerned because this was not just a show about Sugarbush, but it was a show about Vermont. So they were trying to find different things. And as they were going through the scripting, there wasn't an awful lot about, sure, they were going to be here, but we said, we got to at least have something that's going to get their attention that they'll talk about Sugarbush. And somebody said, Matt Lauer is a passionate skier. So we said, great. Well, probably he can't ski during the production of the Today Show. And we came up with an idea. We said, what if we do a night ski? And so we came up with the idea. We passed it by the Today Show, and Matt Lauer to the top of Spring Fling and a groomer. That night was a perfectly clear night. It was cold as hell. I can't remember exactly how cold it was, but it was cold. And it was a full moon. So we got out of the groomers. We got Matt in skis. The lighting person who was going to light up so it could actually be filmed didn't know how to ski. So John Egan held the light. I led the way. And Matt skied down a perfectly freshly gloomed Spring Fling, and it was just an awesome scene. Well, it worked for the Today Show, but that actually inspired us to actually say, well, maybe this is something we could do on a permanent basis. So that was really the spark that created our Allen's Lodge dinners, which we have now been doing ever since, where we take people up in a cabin cat. We have a beautifully set 3-course dinner with wine and candlelight in Allen's Lodge, and then we guide and ski people down a freshly groomed Valley Traverse, Snowball, and Spring Fling. And that all began because of the Today Show. And were it not in the back scenes for Guy Ludwig, the Today Show never would have heard of Sugarbush, never would have come here. And so those are the types of things that Guy has done that we're so thankful for. And hopefully, as he comes now up to this virtual podium to accept his honor, he might share a few of those backstories. So this is Guy Ludwig, goggles and all. You can see it's clearly Vermont because it looks like wet, kind of rainy snow. But Guy, you've been a tremendous supporter, and congratulations on joining the second Wall of Fame of Sugarbush.
Guy Ludwig is credited with introducing countless friends to Sugarbush over the past 40 years. Ludwig began coming to Sugarbush in the 1970s, traveling from New York City on weekends, and eventually purchasing a home here in the 1980s. Ludwig fell in love with Sugarbush and devoted his weekends to sharing that love with his large circle of friends, teaching them how to ski and introducing them to the valley. Ludwig was able to share his love for Sugarbush in his work as executive producer for NBC's Today Show, playing an integral part in the live broadcast of the Today Show at Sugarbush in February of 2008.
Al Roker, Meredith Vieira, and Ann Curry all stayed at Claybrook, dined at Timbers, and had a wonderful time in this magnificent place we call Sugarbush and the Mad River Valley.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's perfect for families. I think it's comfortable and easy. And I normally go to, every year my family, my husband's family lives in Vancouver. So we always go to Whistler. I don't know why we're going so far now. Because we fly all the way from New York all the way out to Whistler. We should just go here.
Congratulations to 2020 Wall of Fame inductee, Guy Ludwig.
And the podium is yours.
Well, thank you, Winthrop H. And good evening, winter sports enthusiasts. As Win said, my name is Guy Ludwig Laundisi. We'll now take a 5-second pause to allow everyone to say, who cares? After all, most people watching or listening know Siggy and Henri, and most of you have never heard of me, although Win gave you a good primer. In many ways, I'm as surprised as you folks are to be nominated beside a couple of true Sugarbush legends. I'm just somebody who nearly 40 years ago came to the Mad River Valley in hopes of changing my skiing, and instead I changed my life. It's fortunate too about my life because my skiing, if it was a prize fight, we'd have to stop it. Anyway, when my dear friend Jeff Block and I stumbled off the train in Waterbury, pardon me, in 1981, heading for our first weekend at Sugarbush, we knew all about Mr. Grottendorfer's brilliant ski school and Mr. Borel's celebrated reputation for hospitality. In fact, they were a part of why we came. Siggy's team showed everybody how to have fun all day on the slopes, and Henri took over when 4 o'clock rolled around. Jeff and I left after that first weekend and went off to ski other places, but something about Sugarbush pulled us back. What was it? The people. The people of the valley. On a later visit, I drove our rental car off German Flats Road. Along came the common man's Mike Ware. He called us names. Turkeys, I believe, is one of the words he used, but he helped us out of the ditch. Siggy's team in the repair shop, headed by Brooke Weston and Chris Doc Doyle, got us on better planks and into lessons. And I'll never forget, a few years later, Brooke was on the spring fling chair and he saw me skiing down the mountain and he yelled down, he goes, "It's amazing. You never improve." Anyway, Jeff and I rented a scruffy little house near the Out to Lunch Trail. And we invited some of our high-strung, neurotic friends from advertising and broadcasting and the legal world up to ski with us. And we discovered that our pals and their girlfriends and husbands and wives and bosses and aunts and cousins and fathers and all their children loved coming to this beguiling spot in the Green Mountains. Some bought houses, others were perpetual guests, and the power of this place really boggles my mind. And of course, as you have already correctly surmised, my mind is easy to boggle. For example, Beverly, the woman who was to become my wife. She is a beach girl. She moved to a town on the Southern California coast when she was in her 20s. She lived there for a number of years and, of course, loved warmth and sunshine. When she came here, it was a snowy Thanksgiving, temperatures in the teens, nothing like San Diego. We went the first night with friends to American Flatbread at LaRoe Farm. She accepted a libation, joined others by the blazing outdoor fire, and when I showed up a few minutes later, she turned to me and said, "I think I love Vermont." Beverly wasn't alone. My colleague from NBC Radio in New York, Don Imus, came to the Valley, couldn't stop talking about it on his daily program. And incidentally, he also talked about me. I believe his expression was he described me as a boil. Oh, well, in spite of that, he came back. So did Yoko Ono with her son, Sean, in a period after John Lennon's murder. Somebody, I think a native of Waitsfield, once said to me, "There's healing in these hills," and perhaps Ms. Ono thought that too. Sugarbush's founder was Damon Gadd. I'm going to give myself a break here and take a little sip of water. Damon Gadd was quoted in 1964, as saying, "Anybody can have a good time here. But if we get folks to live here, all the better." And I've always thought Win Smith tapped into the same mantra when he coined the phrase, "Be better here." Certainly for me, it has indeed been possible to do just that. Nibbling Chris Alberti's meatballs at Peasant, or sampling Peter Sussman's chocolate cake at the Phoenix, my life has been enriched by being here. Repairing a house deck in the summer with neighbor David Powell, or digging a stranded snowboarder's car out of a winter drift, my world has been ennobled. Listening to a fireside story about reversing the odds, or listening to Chad Hollister rock the rafters at the Round Barn, my soul has been energized. From the porch of Tilly House on July 4th morning to the deck of our house during the fireworks the same day, my viewpoint has been elevated. People here took time to teach, show, and illustrate by example, and I was able to slow down, absorb, and yes, Win, be better here. Beverly and I even got married right in Warren, Reverend Susan McKnight presiding, and our honeymoon was at the Pitcher Inn. My career in broadcasting and my life at Sugarbush intersected again a number of years ago, as Win said, when the Today Show, where I was working at the time, decided to broadcast an entire program from Lincoln Peak. The way that project came about was remarkable. And incidentally, my wife, who spent her career as a second grade teacher, played a pivotal role in the process. It was Beverly who pointed out to me, as we walked across the beautiful new plaza, which had been built between Claybrook and the Gatehouse, that it would be a perfect place to do a television show. But about the Today Show's visit to Sugarbush, I'll make two quick points and then I'll wrap it up. First, whatever the mountain and the Mad River Valley got out of the program, we at NBC derived just as much and more. The Sugarbush broadcast was one of the highest rated programs in morning television history. But, and this is the second point, without the enormous infrastructure Wynn and his team put into place at the mountain over the previous 5 or 6 years, the show and its success would not have been possible. So, Mr. Smith, thanks to you, even the Today Show got to be better here. With that, I'm going to stop talking, but not without a shout out to my wonderful wife, Beverly, who's watching from Nashville tonight. Also, not without thanking everyone who wrote to support my nomination. It's overwhelming, placing me in this august company of Siggy and Henri. And for you doubters, there will be no recount. Lastly, special thanks have to shout out to Mona Tilley and Victoria Erdenson. They too have gone a long way to make my life better here. Stay safe and healthy, everybody, and thank you.
Guy, thank you. And cheers and congratulations.
Thank
Toast
you.
to you. Wonderful stories. You know, I had never heard until Guy told me the other day about the ratings that the NBC Today Show had by being here. We were so proud of what it gave to us, and I'm glad that we were able to give something back to the Today Show as well. But it was just a marvelous day to be here. I met Henri long before, I purchased Sugarbush. And so many wonderful evenings there, Christmas celebrations, the back room. I think all of you know who've been in the back room, that what goes on in the back room stays in the back room, of course. Henri always told me that disco was invented in the United States, right here at Warren and not down at Studio 54 in New York City, and maybe he'll share a story or two. What I never knew, though, about Henri, and you all know when you went in there and Henri would take your photo and he'd go, smile, 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 smile. Did he ever really have film in that camera? I don't know if he ever had film in that camera. He just snapped that flash. But now with digital cameras, Siggy actually can get a photo of himself in Chez Henri. But I think the thing that makes Henri so special is, you all know, he started here as the manager of Club 10. I believe one, if not both of his children were born while he was the manager there. And then he moved over and started the restaurant in the village. And as Guy said, that really became an essential part of the Sugarbush experience. Skiing, going down that wonderful, sometimes rocky, icy, out to lunch trail to have lunch at Chez Henri was very special. And having the evening celebrations and the New Year's Eve celebrations, going to the back room, really was a memory that so many of us had. But Henri is much more than a restaurateur. Henri is one of the most charming, most optimistic, most wonderful, lovely human beings. And look at this man, well into his 90s, and the vim, the vigor, the cheer, the optimism he has, he still gets on the slopes. So Henri is really very special, and we are so delighted that he is going to be our second year inductee into the Sugarbush Wall of Fame. So now, John, we will roll the tape and then ask Henri to come up to the virtual platform.
Henri Borel is the founder and co-owner of Chez Henri Restaurant, the Parisian-style bistro that has operated in historic Sugarbush Village since Christmas of 1964. Chez Henri has been a cornerstone of the Sugarbush experience, serving fondue, escargot, and other French fare to guests from Olympian Stein Eriksen to Yoko Ono and Jean-Claude Keely. Chez Henri earned a reputation for nightlife, hosting wild parties in the famed back room in the early days of disco. The back room still lights up for the occasional birthday party of Ski Club 10 celebration, the private club Henri managed prior to opening the restaurant. Perhaps more than anything, Henri is recognized for his positive and welcoming spirit, as well as his infectious love of skiing.
Sigi, sir, how do you feel this morning?
Oh my God!
Huh?
Great shape,
Great shape.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, very good, very good. I see you trained hard last night. This is good. Yes, the legs. Yes. Oh my God, I don't know. Bib inspection here.
And I don't know about the new.
Congratulations to 2020 Wall of Fame inductee Henri Borel.
Congratulations, Henri. We thought this picture really summed Henri up as well as any. And hopefully you can see that there. But if you look at that, Henri is toasting. But look at that smile. Look at that wonderful person that comes across in the photo. So this will be hanging right next to Guy and Siggy wall in the gatehouse this year. Congratulations, Henri, and the floor is yours if you come off mute. You're still on mute, Henri, bottom left screen. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, nice voice, huh? Yeah, that's right. I came to Sugarbush a little bit like you. I came here for 3 months only. And that was a very good time. And so we crossed the border. I crossed the border with one wife, which I love a lot. She was waiting a kid, and she has a kid with me too. So we came 3 or 4 of us, 3 or 4 of you, and we live in one room because I came for Club 10, and Club 10 was waiting for me only. They never thought I was married and have children in between. We make the argument. So we have one room and 2 babies at one point. So 2 babies, we were both of them working up at the club, but the 2 babies were together. So we leave one in his bed and the other one we hung up on the ceiling. I don't know if you saw it, but we have a big, it was Arab basket, you know, we put the baby in the Arab basket and he could go to the ceiling. So like that, her daughter couldn't touch him, Francois and Françoise. So we have a good time there. It was interesting, but we was a small room, 1 bed, a furnace on the side. The only interesting thing is it was a new building, very ugly new building, but during the winter, when we put a little bit of it, the flies came in, but those flies were butterfly. So we have butterfly living in that room. It was really marvelous to live down there, and we have a good time. We meet a lot of people, of course, in Sugarbush, but one thing we meet, Jim Herman, I told you that before. Jim Herman, the owner of Sugarbush Inn, his wife Britta, and Britta was waiting a kid, or she already have one, I don't know, I think she was waiting for. And a big storm came at the end of the season. I was going to leave, but big storm, all the snow, Castle Rock. So, of course, me not knowing how to turn, I went to Castle Rock with them because I knew we were going to down straight on it. So it's okay. Wow. So I went up on the chair with Jim Herman after. He said, Henri, you know, just to improve your skiing, please do something. Why don't you go to take care of the Sugarbush? I said, please, I want to go back to France. He said, no, you take care of the Sugarbush because during that time, I can work on the golf course. He was building the golf course with a carpenter. So I could take care of the golf course, so you take care of the inn, and my wife can take care of her kid, and your wife can take care of the kid. And he was very nice about it. So he gave me an apartment in the house next to him. And he even was very nice. He said, what do you need there? And then he said, I don't need anything, but I need a ice box of milk for the kid. And we have a beautiful time in Sugarbush Inn. It was a very nice place to be. And that forced me a little bit to stay there. And that was no reason why I spent more time in Sugarbush. But then after that, I have another problem. Someone called me, Jim Herman, I think. No, that was Flamer, the architect, who just was coming in, but he was trying to get mention what. He said, you know, at the Alpenide, they need some help. I said, what do you mean they need some help? Yes, you know, we don't know what to do. So why don't you go at the Alpine, take care of a restaurant, and like that, and you are going to see where you make money in the restaurant, because we don't make any money, so we have to find a way. So you go down there, take care of a restaurant. So I went down there. Restaurant, the same thing. We have, it was very nice, but we have a little bit problem. So we put in the bar and we tried to organize the bar, and that was summer, of course. And that was the great season of the polo, because polo was in front of the Alpine. And so I tried to manage the restaurant down there. The kitchen was upstairs. We have a pass going up and down. That was a marvelous thing, you know. And so we started the meal down there. And all the people of Sugarbush were there, but most of, especially the New Yorker, which we call the Sugarbush people. And suddenly we hear a big noise, and a lot of plates coming down. The whole pass went down with the food, the plates, and everything for a few customers. So that slowed down the service. So that a little bit of service, and some people get a little bit excited about it. And Mrs. Not Ehrman, Mrs. Tishman was there too, and she was wetting her food, and she was a problem. And the chairs were going down, so she had the problem because her chair was going down. The chair was not going down, but to dig the floor, we put some blacktop, and it was very warm, and the blacktop become partly liquid. And the chair was going down, so she get very upset. So she stand up and she put her foot down and she went in the black top. So we have to take her out of a black top, but she lose her shoes and she didn't have food yet. So, you know, but we are still very good friends. No, I went to see them in New York. I went to see their apartment in New York, developed Tishman. And talking apartment in New York, the same thing we were talking about. Olivier Coquelin, I came here to replace Olivier Coquelin to take care of the club. And Olivier Coquelin was in New York, living in a basement down there. But one thing was working in his head, disco in New York City, because we have no disco in New York City. So he made a group of people like the two brothers, Mr. Knickerbocker, what is it? Mr. Knickerbocker, who was he? Enfin, the two.
That was Mr. Cassini.
The two Cassini was a very disco for them, you know, that's a beautiful thing, because we knew only beautiful women, so that's so Olivier Coquelin started to story disco, but the disco impossible in New York because you were not allowed to make dance people without paying the music by dance, not by album. Each dance you have to play for the. So that was really impossible. So we built a small restaurant. That was Le Club, a very small restaurant, which was looking like a place where the King of France and the Barrière we used to be hunting, you know, those guys. So it was a beautiful thing. But one of the things for as a disco, it was a tough thing, like it was in France at the time. You remember how many recordings there was at the time? 78, 53, no, 50, 33, and 35. So you need 3 turntables. That was really a lot of fun. And the success of a disco was beautiful. What was the first disco, really disco in New York? Le Club. And Olivier Coquelin, we were talking about the Tishman apartment. Tishman was a big real estate. So Olivier Coquelin make an agreement with the owner of a building. The building was in, I think it's 54, in First Avenue, between First Avenue and Valley. And on the top, there were a big tank, water tank, but no use anymore. And next to it was the elevator shaft, but no use anymore because the electric shaft. So he asked the guy, he said, can I rent the upstairs? So then he created an apartment up there, 2.5-story apartment, in the shaft. If his office was the shaft and the terrace was all occupied, and we only friend when we came down there bring trees and things like that, and with trees, we view 30, no, we have a total view of New York City. And that's what we did after that, what was very incredible, but we'll come back afterwards on New York City. But he started complaining because they built some kind of a building on 32nd Street or something like that. And we lose 1 hour of sun. We have the sun all the year round. That was an incredible. Aha. I got it. Take it. So that was very, 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 very interesting part of it. But let's go back to Sugarbush, maybe. Should we? So in Sugarbush, everything started to be very fast. Because the Alpine were talking about a problem to that. And I contact someone who was the CEO of Great Carbon. Great Carbon in the CEO of Great Carbon. Anyhow, he was a big shot. So, and I contact him and I say, please, I think it's exactly what you're looking for. The small thing. So next thing it came with his plane, he landed in front at the Alpine to go to see what was happening really. And he nearly bought it, but he couldn't board it because everyone wanted to board it in the valley. But excuse me. I don't know, take it somewhere else. Okay, and then we have all that excitement in Sugarbush because that guy who was Skagel. Skagel, was it Skagel, the president of? I don't remember very so.
Skakel, Great Lakes Carbon.
And he bought instead of buying the Alpine, he bought a farm up there, a big farm.
Yeah, the big farm.
And he was a very interesting man. But after that, and something sad happened to him. We lose him on the valley because he was not allowed. The company refused to have him piloting. Because what he did, he tried to buy a Concorde in France for his own use. Okay, but that way he was a character of the thing. Now, talking about Sugarbush with what we did ourselves personally, we move a little bit out of Sugarbush because Sugarbush becomes our home, but wintertime home. And during the summer, we have to do something else. We wanted to do something else, and that's where we built a different imitation disco with one. So we built one in Southampton. In the road north pass of Southampton, we built a big house, a boat house for a disco. That was a great success. But I can tell you, we closed us fast. We were making too much noise on the water. And Southampton people didn't like noise on water. That's something I realized a bit late, but well, it was a very interesting part of it. And then we moved, where did we move? But we moved a little bit everywhere. Because Olivier Coquelin opened a few of the small discos. He opened l'Oursin in the bridge in New York. I don't know where it is. And there the bridge. l'Oursin was Southampton. Now he opened Ondine in New York. Maybe you have no Ondine, the disco. I don't remember. Maybe you're too young, too lucky to remember Ondine. But it was one of the first disco, Ondine, and we have a lot of fun down there. One night we have a guard because it was a very small place and everyone was looking to get inside, and the guard is calling me, say, there's some dirty guy who want to get in, please. I cannot do anything. I say, well, so I went to see him. I said, oh my God, I think I know this guy. I called Olivier. I said, Olivier, go to see what you have done there. And that was, that was not a Beatle, but that was the, God. Could you pick it up there, please? We look like a busy place. You know, Sugarbush is very busy, you see that? Huh? So, so then it was, oh man, what it was. Oh my God, my memory. It was not the Beatles, it was a successful Beatles. And it still are.
But Mick Jagger?
Huh?
Françoise te dit de parler du ski de chez Henri, de Sugarbush. Françoise te dit de parler du ski de chez Henri.
Ah, Sugarbush, ah oui, d'accord. Bon, okay, you see, no, we were in the, that was the four, there were four. And they spent the whole night there and be skiing and dance all the night down there. And qui c'est les gars qui étaient le plus grand orchestre anglais. Quoi?
Les Beatles?
Non, après les Beatles.
Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stone. Before Rolling Stone. And they spent the whole night down there. And they were refused because they were too dirty. But that's okay. It was beautiful. So now let's go back to Sugarbush. Sugarbush has some very interesting things. Stein came to Sugarbush. Stein came, and the Stein was very big at the time. He was coming from Aspin. He was coming from Aspin Island. And when he came in Sugarbush, we were all impressed. But the problem, we have no snow. First snow, December, Christmas, something like that. 1 foot of very heavy snow. First rain came in January. Just to describe a little bit the thing. But Stein was there, and a lot of people came just to see Stein skiing, and Stein making a jump. So we have to travel the snow from the forest to put on a small slope where he can make a jump. And he was making that nearly every Sunday. And sometimes he fall, he was a very nice guy, and do it again. He was really, and I like very much Stein because he was the customer of the fireplace. And everyone came to see Stein. Mostly what the problem we had, because mostly that was the wife of people who came to see Stein. But you know, what can we do? That was, and Stein was really, stay 3 years, very for Stein, and we really enjoyed it. He tried to teach me how to turn without any success, but he was turning well, so that was enough for me. Then after Stein,
well, Henri, I think, Henri, after Stein, of course, Siggy came in. So I think we're actually going to have to move on to Siggy so we don't run out of time. But your stories have been absolutely marvelous. And as John said, we're going to leave the Zoom open at the end of the formal presentation. So anybody can stay on and you can share more stories. And of course, everybody is going to visit you in Chez Henri this winter. We're going to see a lot of you. But I just want to once again, congratulate you, Henri. Thank you for everything you've done over these many years. And salute.
And remember the thing.
Yes, and
the art came
well.
When we have no snow.
Great. Thank you, Henri.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so now we come to Siggy Grotendorfer. And as I mentioned earlier, it's so special to have the Purcells on this call from Santiago because Siggy and Stein played not only a special role at Sugarbush, but a special role at Portillo over the years. And I first met Siggy when I came up here. I was not a very good skier. We skied together. He was nice enough to ski with me and give me some pointers, but all of his coaches really helped me get a passion for the sport and learn to become a much better skier over the years. And a story that some of you know, but most of you probably do not know. In the 90s, when Clenil was clearly throwing in the towel and it looked like they were going to be selling, I was still at Merrill Lynch and I got a call one day from Siggy. And he said, "Win," he said, "I'm thinking of buying Sugarbush." But he said, "I need some investors to help me." And he said, "I have somebody named Robert Shad, who I had met, who was the founder of Husky Injection from Canada, who had become a passionate skier at Sugarbush with his young wife. And he said, would you consider coming along as an investor?" So we went back and forth, we chatted. He showed me the numbers, he talked to me about his vision, and I decided, yes, I would come in. So the three of us started to negotiate, or actually really Siggy started to negotiate with Clenille about buying Sugarbush. Of course, the other person negotiating at the same time was Les Otten. Well, we looked at the numbers, which were terrible, but Siggy did a projection which actually looked like there could be a return on investment if we bought it at the right price. And we got more and more excited about it. Well, Siggy made an offer, and it was turned down, and Les Otten bought it. It turned out, interestingly enough, that our offer probably was a better offer because it was a cash offer, where Les Otten was a slightly higher offer, but Clenille took back basically debt, which I don't think they ever got repaid. So we were sad for a while, but then Les actually did put in $20 million into the mountain. And so a few years later, when it was clear that Sugarbush might be for sale again, Siggy was not necessarily interested in buying Sugarbush at that moment in time, but I was. And I'd say if it were not for that experience of working for Siggy, about looking at the numbers, about hearing his vision, about looking at what I thought Sugarbush might be able to do, I probably never would have been interested in buying Sugarbush. So Siggy, we didn't win that time, but we certainly won in the long run, thanks to that phone call you made to me that one afternoon when I was still at Merrill Lynch. Well, everybody knows Siggy Grotendorfer. He ran our ski school for 3 decades. You know, following Stein Eriksen, I mean, who would want to follow Stein Eriksen? Well, Siggy did, and certainly we didn't lose a beat. You know, we had just marvelous ski directors, from Peter Eston to Stein Eriksen to Siggy Grotendorfer, who really introduced centered skiing, who brought so many good instructors here, and who really added, you know, camaraderie to that adventure. I believe, Siggy, you also climbed the pole at Chez Henri, one of the few people to actually do that.
Wow.
We are so honored to have you here. And before you come up on stage, John is going to show a quick video.
Siggy Grottendorfer served as the director of Sugarbush Ski School for 30 years, taking the helm from Olympian Stein Eriksen. Grottendorfer cut a wide swath through the ski school, earning the admiration of fellow instructors and guests alike. Grottendorfer is credited with founding the centered skiing movement with Denise McCluggage, a fellow instructor and nationally recognized sports writer. For many years, Grottendorfer led a large group of Sugarbush instructors down to Portillo in the summer months to continue their professional instruction.
I'm sure Siggy is going to be boring and probably not entertaining at all, but we must recognize him. Siggy Grotendorfer, please.
I mean, Stein was just saying the years he was here, how beautiful and nice it was, and it was just incredible. I mean, it got better every year, and the reason was Sarah, Damon, and Jack, and you people. I mean, the valley was just one family, and everybody helped together, and everybody worked together, and it was just fun. I mean, I had, and I have to tell this story, I had a racing clinic many times with the locals. They came out, there was ski bum races, and they wanted to train with me, and I was tough with them. And there was this group there, Henri Borel, and Moose, and Steve Hewitt, and Minnelli, and Carl Creedon, and then a couple of ladies. We had 7, 8, 9 people. One day we practiced on the gatehouse, and it was cold. I mean, it was way below zero. The wind was blowing, I had the gates up, and they wanted to go home. They didn't feel so good. And we were skiing, the branches came off the trees, And then we came down, and finally the lift stopped. It was too windy. So they all, okay, laughing, now we are done. I said, no guys, take your skis off, put them on the shoulder, now we're going to walk up there. And we did, and I just started walking, and you think one person walked away? No, they were all behind me. And Moose, you were, oh yeah, oh, that's right, you were there too, yeah. We got to the top, and Moose Blossom, it was 10 below zeros. He was sweating from top to bottom like this, and he said to me, I better ski down right away, otherwise I'm going to be stiff in a minute, I freeze to death. But that's the type of people we had here, and I'm seeing Mike Ware over there. He was part of that group too, I think. You know? And those were the days of Sugarbush, and the characters here and the personalities and everything was just absolutely incredible. I never knew that I would last so long, that I spent 30 years of my life here, which was quite a while, you know?
Congratulations to 2020 Wall of Fame inductee, Siggy Grotendorfer.
Congratulations, Siggy. And this is the photo. There's so many good photos of Siggy we could have chosen from. So as long as you like this, Siggy, this will be the one that will hang on the Wall of Fame. And I love the fact that you just leading those young children and the future generation forward. But Siggy, congratulations, and the platform is yours.
Well, first of all, when I'm obviously honored that I come into the Hall of Fame with all those great people, and they all had to serve it. And when I came to Sugarbush, and well, that alone is a long story, because obviously I was born in Mountain, Michigan, and then I was with families in Detroit, and nobody knew where I was, but I got a phone call, and I said, who is going to call me? And it says, okay, Sigi Grottendorfer, this is Damon Gatt from Sugarbush. And I heard that you are interested in a ski school. And I say, yeah, what ski school? And he says, well, Sugarbush. And I was on the pro race with Stein Eriksen in Stratton before, and I knew what Sugarbush was and this and that. And so I said, yeah, that's probably. And they said, it's fly to Burlington, Vermont, and Bob Hall was getting me out with to Sugarbush. But before, there was the ski show in Detroit, and I was there ready. Ski school director in Sugarbush after Stein was great, and then I'll go in there, and all of a sudden, while I was going into the building, it says, and there, ski school director, so and so is this here with the talk show with skiing and on the ramp. And so I stay there and say, what the heck is this? I thought I was going to go to Sugarbush. And so I called Bob Law, and he says, what, this? Oh gosh, forget it. He says, don't worry, don't pay any attention. I'll pick you up in Burlington. So that's the first thing. And it's obviously Stein Eriksen was a very, very famous Olympian and this and that. but there was one problem with Stein. It didn't snow in the winter. Christmas, no snow by Christmas. And I came, and after that, I was 2 weeks full snow 3 feet, 4 feet, everything. And we are kind of, happy. And anyway, when I was in the inn with Stein, and I said, it's great. I mean, you have such a good reputation and this and that. But the only problem is that I have a better connection to this guy up there. And actually, he was actually looking at me and what are you doing? And I said, well, but this is it. And we had perfect Christmases, really, immediately. And the only ski school where Sugarbush was, and then I was before with Boyne Mountain, with Portillo, because Ottmar Schneider also an Olympian, and he offered me in Portillo, Henry and his uncle, to run the ski school. And I said, yes, that's absolutely no problem. But there was Portillo, and there was 30 feet of snow in a week. And this week it was not very comfortable. I mean, there's no snowcat, so the ski instructors are packing uphill, downhill, and but we enjoyed Portillo so much, and with the Henrys and everything, it was just great. So it was a super connection, Sugarbush and Portillo, and it, I really loved it, both sides, and but there other problems with all the thing closed, the road closed, and the ski lifts closed, and this and that, and well, but we got through. We did all kinds of things, and Henry and we were working and talking, and we made it through. And this way was in Chilean, in Sugarbush, there were more Chilean ski instructors than Austrian ski instructors, and it was a great combination. The instructors went to Chile first to speaking Chilean and Spanish, and the other way back to Sugarbush again with Chileans to Sugarbush, and also with English and with us, and it was always a thing to my way is to teach ski instructors to ski, because it's very a problem when a ski instructor explains every move, everything there, and then he made some turns, but he couldn't make the turn, the one he explained. And that's where we came up in Sugarbush with the ski school and with all this thing, and it's the whole area. And by the ripcord we cut it down in the summer, and that was the most challenge what I had in Sugarbush, because in July and August, black flies are we're going to have a snack, and when we look at the snack, we couldn't find the snack. There was the black flies right over there, and Jesus, here and there and all over. But anyway, and as I said before, ripcord is great. I mean, it's a good run, and it's enjoyable for Sugarbush and for all the things, and then with Paradise and Castle Rock and the other lifts of all of them, it's a combination for just about everybody, and that's what we are going, and that's what the people are at Sugarbush, and the crowd, the bar, the restaurant, all of those things. It's great to be part of this whole group, and therefore I'll say thank you very much and good luck.
Cheers, Siggy. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Well, thank all of you for joining. I don't know if you have surfed the gallery here, but it's marvelous to see who's on tonight.
I know.
The Purcells, but the Roth family is represented, the Eston family is represented, the Orsini family is represented, and I could go on and on if you look back at the history and also the people who are currently here. And obviously that is the tribute to our three inductees tonight. So Guy and Henri and Siggy, once again, congratulations and thank you for all you have contributed to this wonderful community over the years. As I said, I hope we can get you back here physically, next year when we have our third Wall of Fame induction on December 11th. It'd be just marvelous to see you. Anybody that wants to stay on the Zoom and talk more as we were doing at the beginning, please do. John Blay will leave it open. The nominations for next year actually begin now. So you can find the information on our website. If you go to About Sugarbush and History of Sugarbush and Wall of Fame, you will find the instructions for the induction process next year. So we'll start that right now, and we'll let it run for several months and probably cut it off in the early spring so we can make the announcement for the end of the ski season. So I think all of you are on here because you recognize what a special place Sugarbush is, what a remarkable history we've had, what very, very genuinely fabulous people we've had in this community. So thank you for joining. And again, congratulations to our inductees, and good cheers and good skiing to everybody this winter.